Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and the Captain, and we got a doozy today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be back. Been a minute since we recorded. I was last time I've been seen in the podcast circuit. I was on the Sergeant and Samurai podcast with Garrett last week. Go check that out. I think it was called History, something about history.
Victor writes the history.
Right, the victory. Yeah, to Victor goes the spoils or something like that. It was an interesting conversation with our good friend the Samurai over there. Sometimes hard for me to talk with Garrett because he goes so far down the rabbit hole. We live in two completely different worlds.
That's why it works great for me and him on little bonus segments.
Exactly. It's interesting though, and I had a good time. So thanks to Garrett for having me on. So we're back. We're here. I think we're gonna stick to one topic today.
Big topic
only.
Big topic.
It is. It could possibly be the biggest topic, the biggest news story of the year. And that is, of course, Donald Trump and his possible indictment / arrest / whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Theater, movie.
Yeah. We kind of had to delay us even recording because we wanted to see what happened before we started talking about it. So today is Tuesday. Today was supposed to be the day.
Yeah. Today's March 21st.
Yeah.
So that was the day he was supposed to get it. I don't know if you're seeing this on your side, but both videos are pretty laggy. So hopefully that's not affecting the actual recording. But nonetheless, he was supposed. There was rumor that he was getting arrested today on Tuesday, the 21st. And boy, Twitter, the smugness on Twitter has been outstanding. But as we've just learned that it's potentially now tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what
everything
I'm seeing,
happens
right? So
tomorrow.
It's always tomorrow in the world of Donald Trump, right? In the world of you Q people. So yeah, I mean, like, we're gonna get into it just because I don't want to wait any longer to record. It's been over a week since we did an episode. But yeah, breaking: Donald Trump is expected to be indicted tomorrow. Secret Service to make plans for his surrender and appearance in New York court next week. That would be in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, the courthouse there. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, as most people are aware or have seen at some point, like, it's tradition in New York court to get like perp walked when you're indicted. Like, they put you in cuffs and they walk you, in and out of the courthouse. It's like a spectacle for everyone to see. So that could be what happens here, and we'll get into all this.
It will.
It's going to be a great campaign poster.
That's what the media wants. And yeah, like Elon said, if he gets indicted and perp walked, he's going to win in a landslide victory in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That's kind of been the narrative that has started on the Trump side, right? That if this happens, he's going to win in the landslide. But I mean, I want to push back on that myself, because I don't see how Donald Trump getting arrested fixes mail-in voting or that whole process. You guys can't be crying to me constantly about how the system is, something's wrong with the system.
Yeah, when you don't use it.
Right. But then, now he's going to win. Now, this doesn't fundamentally change anything about the process. The process is fucked up. Right. Let's just leave it at that. And I'm not saying this isn't going to motivate people perhaps to want to vote for him, but I don't know how many minds this is going to change that maybe weren't already sold or weren't going to vote for him already, to overwhelm the mail-in ballot. I don't understand where I'm going with this.
Right. Is this going to be enough to get Republicans to mail in their votes,
or just in general, right? Like, this doesn't change the fundamental.
We have to see, because look, if nothing by law or in Congress is changed before the 2024 election, it's going to be very stupid for whoever is the Republican nominee to not focus on this mail-in idea. It's definitely a weapon that if they don't use it, they're going to be damned. So we still got to wait. And do I think it's going to change people's minds? I think if this boomerangs and blows up in the Democrats' face, which I have a funny feeling it will, and he appeals and he gets off and he was wrongfully accused and he gets to make them look like dictators, and he has something up there his sleeve to combat this, and they're already planning on how they are going to spin it.
I think he wants to be clear.
Yeah,
I think he wants to go for the perp. Well, Donald Trump's from New York. He knows what the perp walk is, and he knows the deal. He knows it's a great campaign ad. They're going to spice it up. They're going to do 4K cameras. They're going to be getting the perfect view. They probably have a drone, to make it super dramatic and everything.
And that people on CNN and MSNBC and Twitter and all the blue check mark, they're not going to be able to contain themselves. This is going to be like tomorrow. If he gets arrested, Defiant L's is going to have to get an entire new 16 terabyte external hard drive to store all the headlines and tweets that are going to potentially come back and destroy these people when he gets off, or you know what I mean? Defiant L's are
Brooklyn Dad is going to have to get a complete new setup because he's going to blow such a hard load all over all of his stuff that nothing's going to work anymore.
His dick's going to split in two. So, but I think with the whole mail-in ballot voting system, we're going to have to wait to see how people start running their campaigns.
Again, as I'm warning you all you Trump people, from someone who's not a Trump guy, you keep saying these things that tend to hurt you in the long run. The election's rigged. That gets people not motivated to go out and vote.
Right.
Saying, oh, this is it. This is how we're going to win now, just because the guy gets arrested. Again, it's we don't have to do anything else. This is it. This is just going to guarantee his win. Be careful what you're advocating for, and be careful what you're saying, because then you get lazy, you get complacent, and you think it's just a shoo-in that whatever.
It's funny, the same things go for the Democrats. Be careful what they're saying, what they're wishing for.
I agree.
This could bite them in the ass.
I'm trying to give another perspective on this whole thing, and warn people. So let's kind of get into it, man, because I was telling you before we even started recording this, I feel like people keep asking me why is this even happening? What is this about? They just hear that there's an indictment, he's going to get arrested, and no one really knows what it's about whatsoever.
And there's people out there that are hardcore. He's getting arrested for January 6th.
Right.
He's getting arrested for Ukraine. He's getting arrested for his the top secret files that he had, the classified documents that he had. And what is it for, Skaggs?
Yeah, so it's for Stormy Daniels and that whole situation. But just to follow up on what you just said, I think it's always something behind it that they're trying to kind of conflate all of these things that they throw at Trump. We talked about this kind of when they did the Mar-a-Lago raid, right? That they were going after paperwork and then trying to kind of conflate that with, we're going after him because of January 6th. And the two things are not related whatsoever, but they're not, it's not at length explained so that people don't kind of know, the fog of war. You're kind of lost, and you just hear these things and you think, oh, it must be because he insurrected or whatever, it is to think. So I'll read a little bit, and we're going to mix it up here. I was telling you also, I'm going to start going a little bit more often to Tim Pool's website, Timcast. It's usually pretty well done. It's kind of a little bit more of an objective view on things, and they try to keep the article short when I'm going to read. So as you know, if we go to CNN or if we go to Fox News, we're getting an agenda point no matter what. So I'm trying to get this to explain to people from the most objective source I possibly can. Before then, we give you our own opinions, which are not 100% objective. So from Timcast, Trump says he will be arrested on Tuesday. That did not happen, obviously, at this point.
Lies. Arrest him.
Yeah,
arrest him. He
arrest
lied.
him for lying to the public. Yeah. Calls for protests and urges people to take our nation back. The Post received mixed feedback from commentators on the right, as many noted he did not pardon the January 6th protesters before he left office. In his post, which was written in all capital letters, Trump wrote, "Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros, indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week Protest, take our nation back. Trump's possible indictment stems from an alleged $130,000 hush money payment made to porn star Stormy Daniels in 2016 over an alleged sexual encounter that the two had in 2006. His former attorney, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to charges over the payment in 2018 and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. I'll take a break here real quick and note that this has been, I've heard like the statute of limitations argument be made here. And what that means is that there's like a certain time passes that you can't now go after somebody. That I don't know. Like, it sounds like that could come into play here. Yeah, because I think the authorities have known about this scenario since 2016. How many years ago now is that? That's a long time now.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's 7 years, yeah.
7 years. I think the statute of limitation is 6 years. So this could all be a moot point. I just want to point out.
The incident happened almost 20 years ago.
Right, but I think the statute of limitations begins from when the authorities learn about stuff, and then like the clock starts ticking on when they can. You can't like find out about somebody doing something, put it in your pocket, wait 20 years for them to do something you don't like, and then be like, hey, now we're going to prosecute you.
But the thing that, so she received 130 grand in hush money. Could that also be a settlement? I mean, you have a domestic or a civil dispute and it doesn't go to court and you handle it. What did I just call it? Shit.
Civil dispute.
Yeah. You handle it outside of court, you pay your damages, and then it's over. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm wondering if
it's an agreement between the two of them. I don't think that that's even. I don't think that that's even the issue here.
Yeah,
it's like, I think it's the disclosure of this is what they're trying to. Again, like,
because I also seen another thing where people are trying to say the $130,000 that he paid Stormy Daniels came from campaign funds.
Right, I've seen that too. Again, like, I don't know. I'm trying to find out. Let's keep reading here and see what the actual beef and potatoes here, whatever you want to call it, is. Trump continues, well, they're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest. Trump wrote in a follow-up message. If Trump is charged, he will be the first former president in U.S. history to ever be arrested after leaving office. He is also the current leading contender for the Republican presidential nomination into 2024. There has been no notification other than illegal leaks from the Justice Department and the DA's office to NBC and other fake news carriers that the George Soros-funded radical left Democrat prosecutor in Manhattan has decided to take his witch hunt to the next level. President Trump is rightfully highlighting his innocence and the weaponization of our injustice system, a Trump spokesperson told the New York Post on Saturday. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has called for a congressional investigation into politically motivated prosecution. Here we go. And again, an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against President Trump, McCarthy tweeted.
Did you see it just kicked me out and brought me back in?
Yeah, I saw it in the corner of my eye, but you're good.
All right. Fucking weird.
That's right.
My internet is, I've come to learn that it's not that my parents' house had terrible technology. It's me. It is me.
It 100%. Is, yeah. It's you. You're a black cloud that, wherever you go, doing follows. So, man, I mean, it's very much so like the Mar-a-Lago raid. This is how I view this, right? Very much so like the Mar-a-Lago raid. And it's like technicality shit that they're trying to go after him.
It's how desperate they are.
And as a libertarian, I disagree with prostitution even being illegal, number one. So conservatives, you might want to take that to heart in this case. Number two, I also disagree with, like, if you want to pay somebody to sign an NDA and have a contract where, like, hey, we did this thing and we shouldn't talk about it, so I'm going to enter into a voluntary contract with you over this. I don't see how that should be illegal to begin with. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not illegal or anything. I'm just talking from my point of view. I have no problem with anything Trump did here, whether he fucked her, whether he didn't, whether he decided to pay her off, to keep her quiet, whatever. I'm a libertarian. I don't care about any of those things whatsoever. So I don't know. Why don't you give your take on what you think from the base point of view of this?
Yeah, it's such a last ditched effort. They don't want to go up against him in 2024. They're doing anything in their power to destroy him. And in the long run, it's only going to destroy themselves. You know, I'm not a good betting man, but I'm going to bet on Trump comes out cleaner than he goes into this. You know what I mean?
We're still waiting for anything to come of the Mar-a-Lago raid as well,
yeah,
right? Like,
yes,
you know, that was made out to be the end of the world back then too, and here we are,
yep.
fucking, I don't know, 7 months
We're-
later,
we're-
nothing's happened.
As we've said in the past, the left-wing version of Q and Anons is we're going to arrest Trump.
Yeah, blue.
Do I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, blue and on. Now, do I think Trump's going to get arrested in perp walk? Yes. And I really feel it's going to blow up in the Democrats' face. I really think this is going to hurt them more than anything. I think it's going to be a big enough. I think they're going to give them the perp walk. There's going to be all the headline news. Everybody's going to be watching it. And it's going to be this big nothing burger. Somebody today said either on Truth Social or Twitter or something, Ghislaine Maxwell's been in prison for over a year, and not a single member of Epstein's Black Book has been investigated, indicted, or arrested. But we're going to arrest a former president who fucked a porn star 20 years ago,
right,
simply because we don't like him.
Yeah, it's a whataboutism, but it's a valid whataboutism, right? Because that is, I think, even within the purview of like this area, Lower Manhattan, New York State, like was involved in the Epstein.
Yes, Epstein had a.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's even the same courthouse.
Yeah,
right.
Epstein, Maxwell was being held in New York when that prison went on fire.
I think her trial, like this whole thing, like it's the same building that this is all going to be going down in. Right.
Exactly.
It's a valid whataboutism, in my opinion.
So, and then the other thing, other ex-presidents that are still alive, I'm not going to even bother with. Well, I will bother with Biden. I'm not, but like somebody like Bill Clinton. You seriously are going to tell me that Bill Clinton never paid anybody some hush money? You know what I mean? You're going to tell me that Trump is the only president to ever pay somebody some type of hush money or fuck up to this magnitude? This could boomerang and come back and set a precedent for a million and one other things that other presidents have done and been doing. We've been finding out slowly that the Hunter Biden laptop's real, even though we knew that already. It's been proven that the Biden family received several $1 million from China. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if Trump can go down for $130,000 of hush money going to a porn star who I guess agreed to take this money, and enter into whatever type of contract they had. I don't know what type of contract it is. I don't even know what type of contract you would enter into. Then this could also hurt Biden. This could also hurt. There's got to be a skeleton in Obama's closet, definitely in Bush's closet, definitely in Clinton's closet. You know what I'm saying? Like this could come back and fuck over other presidents too. You might be letting the genie out of the bag. I'm also hoping
you're seeing pie in the sky here.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I agree. This is like 2-tier justice system, right?
It is. Well, that's also what it's going to show.
Sure. I agree with a lot of what the Republicans and Trump people saying. It's a weaponization of the justice system politically. Like I have no proof of this. I'm going to guess someone's leaning on Alvin Bragg. I believe he's the guy in charge of this. Someone behind the scenes.
Well,
probably leaning on him like, hey, this is because I think the federal system let this go. And they're like, we're not going to get involved here. But without a doubt, probably, in my opinion, completely conspiracy theory on my part, someone's leaning on Bragg. Hey, this is a good way we could go after Trump. Right. Yeah, he's the DA. This is a good way we could go after Trump. Hey, you're on our team, right? You're on our side, right? Like, and there's a way we could kind of like obfuscate blame. Like, well, this is a New York State matter, right? This is not a federal matter. Alvin Bragg went and did this on his own accord, like to prosecute the law. And like, that's my guess as to what kind of happened behind the scenes.
That person behind the scenes, which I'm very happy to start talking about, which I'm very happy to start seeing Trump put out Truth Social comments about it. I'm happy to see Ron DeSantis admit it in an open, interview that we'll look at later. His name is George Soros. George Soros has funded and backed several DAs across the country, and every DA that he backs and funds is in a high crime ridden area.
They're a politically motivated DA
Yes.
too, right? And like again, like I'm an anarchist, but like these are your people's rules, the state, the thing with the blind scales of justice and all this stuff. Like they're playing by your rules, but then they're putting in someone that's not blind, that doesn't have, is not a blind scales of justice person, someone that's in there to push a political agenda or prosecute people politically, like what's going on here.
His name is getting out there, and I think more people are going to learn about it. And, you forget the pie in the sky theory that I have of, this boomeranging back to other presidents and stuff. His name needs to get out there. He needs to get investigated. He needs to be looked into, because you could bring up that name to somebody who thinks they know what's going on, and they don't even know who that fucking man is. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. He's right up there with Klaus Schwab in the New World Order.
I think he's pretty famous, man. Honestly.
I think I think he's gotten bigger, but I think like your regular Joe Schmo who is, a Trump supporter who maybe listens to like one or two podcasts or has been watching Fox, they might not really know who he is.
Maybe. I feel like he's a lightning rod, George Soros, right? Like if you mention him in our circles, people are like, he's
our
terrible.
circles.
But
our circles,
right. And then, the other side's going to be like, it's a conspiracy. He's a Holocaust survivor, and anything you say about him,
he sold the Jews out.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like he's a hot button topic. And I think a lot of people know about him. But yeah, maybe I'm not saying you're not right. Like more people should learn about George Soros and what he's up to,
and if he's involved or if he's backing a DA, maybe you should question the DA then. Instead of just blindly CNN said so. Okay,
I see what you mean. Like if it is a George Soros backed DA, like first of all, you need to know that you might not, right? But how it's not like there's a roster somewhere.
Right.
I mean, maybe there is, but I guess you should be like, hey, this is most likely not an impartial DA.
Yeah,
that's playing by the original rules that they set, where it's like the scales of justice are blind, right? They're not. Yeah, so I get it. That's a good point. Sure.
Yeah, so I'm glad that his name's out there.
Definitely. So I think, man, let's keep going here. Sometimes me and you have spoken about how, at least me, I think the reaction to some of these things is more interesting than the thing itself. Like, I don't think...
Well, hold on. Before we get into the reaction, because there is comments I want to make on the quote on, and I strongly use quote unquote protesting that's going on of these fake Trump supporters that have been showing up. I understand why he's saying it. I think it's stupid for Trump to be screaming, get out there and protest, get out there and protest, because the powers that be behind the shadows would love nothing more than to do another false flag operation. What it seems like, YouTube, I am not saying the election was stolen.
Be very careful here. Let's be clear, because we almost got banned on the last episode.
From what mean old untruthful Tucker Carlson was telling us there was some possible shady things going on during the January 6th insurrection of the Capitol. We're not saying the election was stolen. We're just saying that some things were hidden from the public on January 6th, and it could very easily happen again. The sad part is that whether January 6th was a false flag or not, it's really going to be hard to convince Trump supporters to get out in number and protest. It's definitely, whether this was a false flag or not, it definitely hurt, one political side's party to get out there and protest. But if you do go out there and protest, if there are protests, don't destroy property. Don't break into buildings. If you see people acting up, videotape them, share that video, share their face. Ray Epps, we know he's a shady guy. Ray Epps, right? Or Mike? Yeah, Ray Epps. Ray Epps, yeah. We know he's a shady guy. There's plenty of video out there that they don't want you to see of him. If there's agents of provocateur out in these protests, make sure you get their pictures all over Truth Social, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you can to oust them. Show up and protest, make your voice be heard. Once things start burning down and people start storming capitals and courthouses, turn around and get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with what you're saying, right? Like, yes, and I think let's, because I'm going to be critical here of Trump people in a little bit, so I'll give them credit first. I think most people are now aware of the danger of like a false flag, and like their actions could impact everyone else. Right, like we've said before, like around January 6th, it's like that's now used as a justification and a basis to like expand the police state and to now just claim anyone as a domestic terrorist. Remember the was it the FBI, like the memo that they put out where they were like, here's all the symbols of all these possible, these domestic terrorist groups. And like it wasn't just like MAGA people on there. There was the anarcho-capitalist flag on there, like the thing that I believe in, the don't tread on me flag. Like it's anyone who is a dissident of the state.
If you don't comply,
it's right. Like groups that weren't involved in January 6th were now being labeled libertarians afterwards, right? Remember it was Clapper, I think it was, said that. Right. Like they're going to use these things as justifications to tamper down, like to enforce more state control over everything and criminalize dissent in a sense. So yes, be careful what you do or like what you participate in, because there is always that possibility, because they know that they're going to again possibly send fucking agents or whatever to the whole thing. So like I was saying before, I think sometimes the reaction to some of these things is more interesting than the thing itself. On its base level, like the thing itself ain't that fucking interesting to me.
No.
Stormy Daniels, sex, and paying someone an NDA. Whatever. I don't care. Doesn't bother me whatsoever in any way. But the reaction is more interesting. So I'm going back to Tim Cash real quick to read a little bit more. Barricades erected outside of the Manhattan court where Trump is expected to be indicted. Extra security steps are being taken after the former president urged supporters to protest if he's arrested. If Manhattan Attorney General Alvin Bragg proceeds, it will mark the first time in U.S. history former presidents face criminal charges. In preparation, New York authorities have mobilized 700 riot police officers as city, state, and federal law enforcement agencies liaise to work out a strategy to handle widespread protests. You see there, they're putting out the fences and stuff. Over the weekend, Trump fired off a series of messages on a social media network that he would be arrested. And, he is, let's say, this is an interesting truth. I was going to say tweet, but it's really a truth of Trump's, where he said, it's time we're a nation in steep decline, being led into World War III by a crooked politician who doesn't even know he's alive, but who is surrounded by evil and sinister people who, based on their actions on defunding the police, destroying our military, open borders, no voter ID, inflation, raising taxes, and much more, can only hate our now failing USA. We just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest. Trump called Manhattan's district attorney office corrupt and asked his supporters to protest if Bragg proceeds with a formal indictment. Some more tweets by Trump. We have Bragg addressed Trump's comments in an internal email to staffers saying the DA's office will not tolerate intimidation. We have full confidence in our outstanding security staff and investigators, along with our great OCA and NYPD colleagues, and will continue to coordinate with all of them, he wrote. We do not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York. In response, a little typo there, says on response. In response, Trump reminded his 4.9 million followers that Bragg previously worked as an attorney for former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, whose campaign funded a fake dossier used as the basis for FBI agents to lie to U.S. foreign intelligence, surveil the FISA court, and illegally obtain a warrant to spy on then candidate Trump. Kind of what you were talking about before, Cap. It's, and again, points to more how this is like a two-tiered weaponization of the justice system. No one connected to the Clinton campaign or Democratic National Committee was charged with the crime, and both organizations were hit with fines totaling about $113,000 for their involvement. The New York Times reported that if arrested, Trump would be fingerprinted, photographed, and potentially be placed in handcuffs, like we were saying before, the perp walk. So that's like the interesting part of this whole thing to me. It's like the protesting, the possible false flag, the response by MAGA people to this whole thing is really what I'm finding interesting. And I wanted to make a point here. I wrote a little bit of a rant because I wanted it to be as clear as possible about the protesting. So bear with me here for a second, Cap. But and I know you just went on this rant before about how be careful, like if you go and protest, right? Like there's obviously the threat of a false flag. But I think in general, what I'm seeing and what I kind of am having a lack of seeing when it comes to protesting, I think protesting could be valuable, right? I think Jimmy Dore, I think I've mentioned him on the podcast before.
Yes.
You know, Jimmy Dore is, right? Like anytime you see Jimmy Dore, he's fucking mad. Like he's angry. He talks like he's angry, and he's encouraging people to like get out in the streets and kind of like fight for what you believe in. And when it comes to the protesting, I think that there are certain things right now that are probably going to be unpopular what I say, but they're things that people need to hear, especially in the MAGA group. I think Trump supporters, they have to do a real introspective on what they actually stand for in terms of protesting. I'm not saying don't go out and protest, right? I think it's valuable, like I was just saying. And that what they're doing to Trump is not wrong. I think it is. I think we were clear about that. And then if that's what you want to do, I think you should go out and protest this whole thing. But what I wanted to say was where I went to in the same region in Lower Manhattan, I went to the first protest against a vaccine mandate back in the summer of 2021 or whenever it was. And I'm going to be real with you. Besides my friend who came with me, who's a big Trump guy, and two other guys who I saw that had Trump flags, and Scott Libido, that's four people in total. That was it in terms of what I saw for like MAGA people when I went to this protest. Everybody else was like a vegetarian or a vegan, Holocaust survivors. Just there wasn't that many people. So like Trump is now telling you all to go and protest. And it seems like the MAGA people are a little bit more willing to actually go and protest. You have to do an introspective of like, what do you actually believe in? What do you actually stand for? Right? Like, why didn't people go and protest things that were like directly affecting them as an individual when it came to like the vaccine mandate? But now when their hero, like their political icon, he's telling you to go protest, and now people are like, yeah, let's go. Let's get up. Let's go actually like do something about this. Let's go protest. You have to be careful because I feel like people are falling into a cult of personality trap where the only thing they seem to actually believe in or rely on is this singular guy who's their hero. He's going to magically fix the system from the top down. And if you show up for him and you make your voice heard, but when something targets you as an individual, again, like the vaccine mandates, you don't show up and you don't stand up for yourself. The way I see this, Cap, is like the victimhood mentality of the left is kind of invading the right wing, the Trump people, right? Like, oh,
definitely, yeah,
we're victims, right? So now we're victims. We should, the guy that we like is a victim. Now let's go and do something about it. But when something was actually directly impacting you as an individual, you didn't actually go and do anything about it. That's
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's definitely victimhood, and I will even say laziness.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Because a lot of people, I feel like, so me and you are above average American when it comes to something like this, because we have a show. We're coming up on 200 episodes. We've been on multiple episodes of other people's podcasts. We've gotten involved with the Libertarian Party. We saw something we did not like, and we said, what can we do to change this? And we made a podcast. Whereas the below average American on both sides, but since we're talking about Republicans here, the Republicans, they, like you said, what did you call it? A character worshiping, or what did you say about
cult of personality?
Yeah,
like, okay. That's my warning to people.
Right. Here. So yeah. I think what it is that like, well, as long as Trump's out there fighting the good fight, all we need to do is back Trump. Right. We don't need to show up and protest. Right. That's the laziness I'm talking about. Even though I'm a Trump guy, I still felt the need we needed to make a podcast. Even though at the time you were a Bernie bro, you still felt the need to make the podcast. Whereas a lot of these people are just like, as long as, you know, Trump's out there, we don't need to do shit. If Trump goes away to prison, we need to fight and get him out. You know, this is their wake up call. And it's laziness. That's what it comes. It's the complacentness of Americans that got us into this situation.
Sure. Yes.
You know, forget Trump, go back to Obama, go back to Bush. The being complacent and not really being interested in what Obama was doing for 8 years is what led us to, you know, an even more corrupt system, not paying attention to what Bush did for 8 years because he said the boogeyman is in the Middle East and he's going to come get you, made us complacent. So, all right, Bush has got it. All right, Obama's got it. And this is the problem with that.
Yeah, dude, that's a great response to what I had to say. I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah, it's like complacency. Like the proof is in the pudding here, right? Like people are now only even entertaining the idea, and like they did on January 6th, right? Like people had this huge protest. Why? Because like the election got stolen. My hero, like the hero, the thing, my hero was
my
wrong.
Hero can't fight this fight. So
my hero was wrong. So now I have to go and do something. But when something was actually being done to you, you didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
So that's like what I'm trying to convey here. It seems like people only believe in the cult of personality, not like they have any sort of philosophy or ideology or principles that they even stand on. They're waiting to kind of be directed instead of standing up for themselves. Like, don't be a victim. Go out there and stand up for yourself. Be a rugged fucking individual and do something about it.
Well, look at the playing field. Look at mainstream media. Look at what we've learned through the Twitter files. It just because one side's a bit more corrupt than the other side doesn't mean that the ideologies have leaked in. Doesn't mean that the ideology didn't leak into both sides. It's all for me and you. Politics is very different than my next door neighbor's view for politics, because my next door neighbor, whether they're a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter, that's where their politics ends. I'm a Biden guy. Fuck Trump. He's going to get arrested. I don't care what for. As long as he's arrested, my guy's right. Your guy's wrong. The day is won. Whereas for me and you, it's no, you have to fucking do something and, you know, vote these people out. You don't like the way your education system's being run in your local school board. You don't like the way your city, run in your city council.
Vote. Start a podcast. Get involved on Twitter. Push back.
Like
go
you said,
conversations with people. Yes, like all these things.
Like you said, when I guess it might have. I don't think it was the midterms, but what happened? Like in your area of Connecticut, everything went red. Like all the city council members and all the school board members and shit. They all went red.
Everywhere that a Republican was on the ballot for something, at least in my town, they won. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that's. It really just comes down to like, that's why people are coming out. Well, I don't even think people are really coming out yet. We'll see what unfolds in that manner, because I want to get into the protesting. But that's what politics is for so many people. For the people that listen to the show, obviously not. I mean, probably maybe there is a few, but like for so many people, it's my guy versus your guy.
Sure.
That's, you know.
Yeah, it's true. Or people just, again, apathy or not paying attention to like the levels or people seeing things through like the binary of the whole scenario. Again, I just want to stress this. Like, you have to believe in like principles and a philosophy, not just in a person, because you don't really believe in anything. You're just believing, you're like trusting on the whims of one guy. And I'm not saying Trump doesn't have any sort of principles or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I could give another example of where I saw this, the Rage Against the War Machine rally that happened a couple of weeks ago in Washington that the Libertarian Party organized. They organized it, but there was people speaking from across the political spectrum, and there was people attending from across the political spectrum, including like actual communists, like not the fake woke communists that you see, like real red commies. But one thing I did not see any of were MAGA Trump people whatsoever. Like, again, it was open to all to participate, to get in the streets and protest on a principle, right? Like a thing. We don't like this war. We want to oppose this war and do something about it, because Trump wasn't involved, maybe because he didn't say, hey, this is something you should go and do. You have to stand on principles, even because fundamentally now people will turn around on the other side and point at you and be like, you see, They're just following their fascist dictator on his every whim. They don't actually stand for anything. They're just doing whatever he tells them, which I know is not even true, right? We know it's not true because we've talked to these people.
We know what the definition of fascism
but I'm
is.
saying we also have spoken to Trump people before. And we know that they're, they don't just follow his every whim, but you just got to be careful, like when you choose to participate and when you don't. You should be participating more often. Let's leave it at that. That's definitely what I'm trying to convey. Trying to give you guys a pep talk here. Yeah, get in the streets. Be careful of false flags and whatnot, but get in the streets not just when the president tells you to do so, but when shit's fucked up, go and do something about it. Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring up so far with the protesting, quote unquote protesting that we've seen, it's all been fake. It's all been so staged.
Dude, I saw a video of anti-Trump protesters. It was two fucking people,
with
and there
12
was more
dozen
with 10 to 15 cameramen and journalists. There were more cameramen, journalists, and people protesting.
Yep. Then I saw another guy. He had his face painted red, white, and blue. He was wearing a fur hat with deer antlers, and he was on his knees praying. And some guy who looked like Antifa in a fucking black mask and a black beanie comes up and starts arguing with him. And he's like, bro, this is my religion. He's like, your religion is fascism. Blah, 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 blah. Fake. Everything that you have seen outside the courthouse so far has been 100% staged.
Yeah, like they're actors. They're trotting actors out there.
It's all fake. And that's an interesting thing. Like, nobody's really protesting it. Our police buddy said a car was set on fire last night, but I don't know if that was really in relation.
Mad Max, that could just be completely unrelated.
DA doesn't give a shit. The DA is, taking some hardcore crimes and turning them into misdemeanors. Before long in New York, murder will be like a $10 fine. You know what I mean? And but this is like the top of the top of the leaderboard. All the protesting you've seen so far is 100% pathetically fake. And for everybody on Twitter, like, oh, Trump's following's dying. Only 2 people showed up. You actually believe those 2 people are Trump's followers? They're wearing masks, for God's sakes.
This whole situation is so interesting, dude. As we're talking about this, and you're explaining how like there's people that are like showing up, and they're most likely like actors.
Yeah,
there's like so many different parties that are like trying to make something happen on both sides. Like I think Trump wants this to happen, right? He's telling people to go protest. Then there's like these people that it's obviously seem like some sort of paid actor. They're trying to like instigate something to happen. Then there's like people like us who are like, no, go, no, don't go. It's very much so, dude, an example of like the cold civil war that we have going on, right? Like there was no hot conflict with the Soviet Union, but there was all these fight them, don't fight them. Let's do this. Let's not do that. You know what I mean? Like, and no one ever directly confronted each other. This seems to be like kind of what's happening here. It's like a cold civil war battle is happening around this.
It's definitely interesting. There's definitely conspiracies already around it. There's going to be more conspiracies that come out of it, or more to add to the conspiracy that there is.
But which, by the way, man, I don't think I've got a chance to compliment you on something you said on a previous episode.
You told me this the other day. Yeah.
I told you in person, but let me tell everybody here on the show. The captain made a point where I think someone asked you, like, how do you believe in all these conspiracies or something like that? And you're like, it's just one conspiracy. It's all one big conspiracy. I thought that was one of the smartest things you've ever said. It's a great fucking point. And he's right, because all of these things are interconnected. It's not like we're, like the flat earth stuff is not connected to this. So if we want to get into that, all right, that's number 2. Right. But the rest of the shit that we normally focus on, it's
climate change and World War and the banking
related.
System and Russiagate.
Yes, the war in Ukraine. All of this shit is
critical race theory. Yes. It's one big military ploy to take over an opponent, man. It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's so many parties and so much can come out of this. And this is it's not an act of war per se, but this is an act of, I guess, modern war. What was it called? I think Tim Pool said it.
Fifth generational warfare.
Yeah, fifth generational warfare, where it's fought online and in chat rooms and stuff like that. This is
cold. It's a cold war. There's no kinetic fighting for the most part. It's right now. It's everyone
And
jockeying with each other.
I mean, it's everybody. It's actually, I mean, we could have a whole episode on like just the viewpoint from above. Like Trump wants this to happen so he could do A, B, and C. George Soros and the World Economic Forum want this to happen so D, E, and F could happen. Joe Biden and the Democrats want this to happen so E, you know what I mean? Like H, I, J, K could happen. Like there's like, so many like
you ever see like the execution where they tie like each one of your legs up to a horse and then
draw and quarter you?
Yeah, and like they make the horses walk in an opposite direction. Like that's you're the individual, and you got all these forces, these politicians, these things pulling at you from each and every direction, trying to tear you apart. Or
you know what? We'll have a receipt here right now. I'm calling out that if Trump does get arrested, and I think he will end up in cuffs.
That's what they're saying, right? Tomorrow the indictment comes down, and that next week he'd have to do the perp walk.
There was always the Q thing of the first arrest will show how the rest of this go. I don't even fucking remember. There was something big about the first arrest or whatever, and a lot of people always speculated it, and then a lot of people started in that Trump would be the first arrest. So that's going to be interesting. But my receipt that we are going to hold on to for when he does get arrested is there will be a Mockingbird clip of 900 billion million different little news agencies going, Donald Trump, blah, 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 and saying the exact same thing all across the nation.
Probably
every single news station will have the same topic, same story, same wording, everything.
Sure. I mean, and you know, I guess of course they're going to cover this, but yeah, like with a variation of perhaps one word.
Yeah, the email will go out.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, that magical email we always talk about will go out, and
So again, as we were saying before, I kind of want to shift to the next part of this thing. The response to this thing is sometimes more interesting, like I said, than the thing itself, and that does not leave out Ron DeSantis in this whole thing. And I think this was
Ron
one of the most interesting things here. You know, to give you some context, a lot of the Trump people were saying that Ron should do something about this because he's the governor in Florida, where Trump is. They should take a stand and say, hey, we're not going to comply with, I don't know, sending the police down here or whatever it's going to be to arrest Trump. Well, that's not really how it's going to happen. Well, that at least he should kind of make a statement on what's going on here. He's a popular guy. He's running in the thing, and he's, you know, so you get that. That's the context. So let's see what Ron DeSantis had to say, and we'll give our take after that.
Extradition to New York.
So I've seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast, vast majority of crimes. And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe. And so you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that if you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many, many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, you know, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong. I also think it's important to point out when you're talking about these Soros-funded prosecutors, yes, they may do a high-profile politicized prosecution, and that's bad, but the real victims are ordinary New Yorkers, ordinary Americans in all these different jurisdictions, that they get victimized every day because of the reckless political agenda that these Soros DAs bring to their job. They ignore crime and they empower criminals, and that hurts people, hurts a lot of people every single day. the Soros district attorneys are a menace to society, and I'm just glad that I'm the only governor in the country that's actually removed one from office during my tenure.
See, I'm glad he goes after Soros, man.
Yeah.
Glad he does.
So
hold on, just one thing before I forget. Wouldn't it be funny if, like, down the road, Ron DeSantis goes down because he paid a porn star hush money?
The irony of it all, right? Or what I think Trump's response to this was that there's stuff to come out about DeSantis.
Yeah.
So, like, when this first happened, I know I texted you, I'm like, man, this was like a master fucking political gamesmanship statement that Ron DeSantis did/made. But I now think I was wrong, because I've seen the response and the backlash to this, and people are like not happy with him whatsoever. People are like, hey, like, people also get what he was doing here, which is like making himself look good while also taking a swipe at Trump. And people are like, hey, this is really bigger than the whole political game thing. You really like made yourself kind of look like an asshole here. I think people like me and you are smart enough to understand that there's value in what he said, and that he's right about all those things he said.
At the end of the day, he is right.
Yes, right. He is right. Right. What he said there is correct. And what he did is good, removing a Soros DA. And what he said is correct. That's kind of what we were saying before. Like, the individuals are the ones that these things are hurting at the end of the day. That's even what Ron DeSantis here said. But it doesn't matter that me and you could see through all that and see that there's positive to what he said here and that he is right. I think in reality, he has now this was a negative on Ron DeSantis politically, because people act emotionally, people don't act logically, and people now are like insulted that he did this, and he didn't take more of a hard stand on this is fucked up. I'm going to use my power as governor, like I have on other things, to intervene here and kind of take Trump's side and help protect him. So I think this was so I originally thought it was a good idea. Now I realize, again, politically, I'm talking about in gamesmanship, this was a misstep, definitely, for Ron DeSantis.
Yes, because if you think about it, first and foremost, I think the luster of Ron DeSantis might be failing on some people now that we're getting closer to the 2024 election. There's definitely more people out there like me who is interested to see how the mainstream media and the DNC and the quote unquote establishment treats Ron DeSantis. I think that's going to speak a lot if he was controlled opposition this whole time or not. That's my real interest in it. But, you take the players that are on the field, and Ron DeSantis is 110% the number 2 guy in the Republican Party behind Trump. And if they could do this to Trump, they could do this to Ron DeSantis if he is a good guy. So, yeah, he did take the opportunity to make himself look good and take that swipe at Trump. But you're the number 2 guy, and when Trump's gone, they're going to come for you. So you should fucking fight this now before you're in Trump's spot, and then you got to deal with all this shit that Trump's dealing with too. Because if you're not controlled opposition and you are this warrior for the American people that we all want DeSantis to be, they're going to come after you in the same fucking way. And if you ever did pay a porn star some hush money, you're going to get got for it. So it would have been it would have been beneficial for him to take a harder stance on it, to move forward because at the end of the day, like, we've talked about this a lot, like, we don't care who's in office. We don't care if it's a black guy or a woman, if you're gay or straight, just be well suited.
Do what
for the
needs
job.
to be done.
Yeah, just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And this is one of those opportunities. Like, there's a 2-tier justice system. We need as many people to fight this 2-tier justice system as possible. And you're the number 2 guy. You need to be fighting it.
Yeah. And I think, I agree here. Again, I do think.
And he did, for the most part, he did fight it in his district and remove a rotten DA.
Sure. But in this is a battle. Are you in this thing or are you not in this thing? Like, I think that's a way to look at it, right? And I think this is a misstep. I think this is similar to some people in the libertarian camp who were like, oh, I kind of like the idea of like a president getting prosecuted finally for crimes that they committed, right? Because
other presidents could get
like this is a good precedent to be setting. And I think Dave Smith, being one of the leaders in the libertarian movement, was like, man, what a fucking stupid blue pill to take to have. Like, yeah, let's set the precedent of hush money porn star prosecution for presidents, but not wars in Yemen and drone, like Obama drone strike a 16-year-old fucking American citizen that was Anwar al-Awlaki, who was a terrorist's like son. I mean, like the kid was in Yemen. We're not technically in war in Yemen, right? But they drone striked an American citizen. Why? Because like bad intel, or because his father was a terrorist? Like that's
because
murder.
Obama didn't give a shit,
right? Or how about Biden's after when the Afghanistan fell? Remember how there was like the attack and the ISIS-K thing, and then they blew up a building saying, well, we got vengeance on ISIS-K, and then like a week later, turns out it was like 8 kids and 2 parents that had nothing to do with ISIS-K. What's that? Oh, it was a mistake. You killed people. You literally killed innocent people. And there's no accountability. There's no, like, that is where you want to set the precedent for stuff. Not
it's amazing that
if you can't make that distinction, then I don't know what the fuck you're an idiot, to be honest. You can't make the distinction between the two.
You're just a compliant voting machine for
you're a useful idiot. Like you're actually helping the agenda. You're helping the deep state agenda by spewing out something like that's like you're saying something that is in alignment with what they're trying to do, and
you don't even know that
you don't even know you're doing it, and ultimately this is going to come back and fuck you. Because look, I don't agree with Trump on most things, but at least I to some extent realize he's a thorn in the side of the machine, right? So I'm not gonna like go and now do the fucking work of the machine to go after the guy. If anything, I'm not gonna like sit here and like I normally do. I don't like promote him on this podcast, but at the same time, I'm not going to be like, yeah, we should throw him in jail because he paid hush money to a thing. When there's literally illegal wars being fucking fought around the world by other presidents, there's no accountability. It's a crazy concept. That
this is where we draw the line of accountability.
Yes,
porn star hush money. Wild to think of it.
So I mean, that's the situation. We got some tweets of the week. Unless you got any other points you want to make.
Since we're getting into tweets of the week, my tweets are a little bit old.
Yeah, mine are old too. It's been so long.
But
I think they're still.
I have to say the smugness. Smugness is a word, right?
Yeah, it is now. It's a captain word.
Yeah, of people on Twitter with just Trump is guilty. Just the pure joy. I'm gonna throw a big party when Trump gets arrested. It is. I say, from my point of view, like I said, I still think Trump's going to get arrested. And I've always said if Trump's guilty, throw him in jail. I don't think this is an offense that he's even going to get thrown in jail for if he's found guilty.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, this is a misdemeanor, and I think they're trying to like upcharge it to a felony. Like the whole thing is just wrong.
So but there's going to be an appeal. Trump's come out on top every time they've done this to him. This is the Q version of the left, the blue and on stuff. We got him. I'm going to keep quiet all throughout the arrests. And when it unfolds and it's a nothing burger, that's when we fight them. That's when we nuke them. When they're at their lowest, I'm coming in with a pair of steel-toed boots to kick them when they're down.
That's when you be mean.
Yeah.
As we said a few episodes ago.
That dude, I got to say that be mean thing has been one of the most inspiring episodes we've probably done. Cause like I tell people now, I'm like, dude, like, cause I got so many chats and like people hit me up with like funny political memes and this and that. And they're like, I can't believe this is happening. I was like, bro, fight back. It's time. If you truly don't like it, fight back on Twitter, fight back on Instagram, start leaving comments, be mean to people. Be mean. The time of being reasonable with most of these people are over.
With bad faith actors or people who are doing just insane, immoral things. No, with like, I'm sorry, man. Like, sorry, Jesus, but we're not going to turn the fucking other cheek.
No, it's done. We've allowed it. We've allowed it for close to 5+ years now. It's over. It's over. These transgender attacks on children, fucking drag shows for children. It's wrong. It's all done. It's all over now. You've forced our hand. We need to be mean. We need to.
Agree with you, buddy. All right, let's get into some tweets of the week. My first tweet of the week is a screenshot because I am blocked by Occupy Democrats. So the only way I could get this was through proxy, and this was such an insane tweet. I saw it through proxy, and it's Occupy Democrats, and it says, Epstein may have been an evil predator, but he was a perceptive judge of character. Somehow trying to juxtapose Epstein and Donald Trump. Like they're trying to make an argument here that Jeffrey Epstein is better than Donald Trump somehow as a person. He's a better.
Can you imagine waking up and being like,
who wrote? Yeah.
Imagine like obviously like the inception of that idea. This person was just, oh, Jeffrey Epstein's a better person than Donald Trump.
Yeah. Again, like, do we have to remind you what Jeffrey Epstein did? He trafficked young children in a sexual pedophile ring. And you're like, that's the worst thing you could probably be as a human being.
Yeah.
Your Trump derangement syndrome is so severe. It's progressed to such late stages that you're now justifying a sexual predator ring. It's trying to paint them in a better light than Trump.
Yeah.
Crazy, dude.
It's funny.
A crazy fucking statement. I can't even be mean to these people because I have been so mean to them in the past they blocked me on Twitter. So you guys be mean to them.
It's wild to see that like Trump derangement syndrome was kind of like a joke when Trump was in office, to the point now like it's like a serious mental retardation.
Doctors are gonna start, like, if doctors weren't so corrupt and like the whole pharmaceutical industry wasn't so corrupt, they might start actually like diagnosing people.
Yeah, medicating people.
This.
Yeah. All right.
This
is from JoJo.
Yeah, so keep in mind these might be old because we haven't done this in a while.
Well, mine are all pretty funny. I reviewed them today. So JoJo, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. George Orwell, 1984. This is where we are, folks, for real. For her to be saying this is outrageous. She is one of the most convoluted people living in an alternate universe there can fucking be. She is a paid shill. Everything, she doesn't have her own opinions. She receives an email and a paycheck to tell her what her opinion is. And she thinks that her side of the story is the George Orwell 1984 version.
This reminds me of the Tim Pool tweet of the week we had a while ago, where it said like where we're at nowadays is like the machine thinks it's the resistance. That's what this is. I also think this is actually pretty smart, right? Because like, like you should and this is what they do. Like they portray themselves as the resistance. It would make sense for them to now start like adopting some of these Orwell these Orwell quotes that so accurately describe what people like JoJo represent. And then like portraying it as no, like we're against Orwell stuff.
Well, we've gone so far into this alternate universe that this is the new reality.
Right. To be fair, like it's exactly what the Ministry of Truth in 1984 would do. So it makes perfect sense, in my opinion. A great tweet by JoJo. I'll give her some credit there. All right. I don't even remember what my tweets are at this point.
Mine are all funny. I reviewed them this morning.
Okay. Let's see. So this is from
Muto.
Oh, this is from Muto, and he says this movie already has a sequel even before it's out. And what is it? Oh yeah, okay. This is in reply to the Tennessee cop Megan Hall breaks her silence after being fired over sex scandal. I did say no. To which Muto is going, this movie already has a sequel even before it's out. That's a great fucking story, man. That's a great meme. That's a great story. Hysterical.
That poor woman. All right, what do we got here? Who's this?
No, End Wokeness is gone, or your tweet's been deleted. Oh well. So swing and miss by the
son of a bitch. It was just there this morning.
It says this page doesn't exist. They might have got banned. Maybe. I think it was from End Wokeness, which is a page I follow on Twitter. They might have got banned. I don't know.
Let me just see real quick.
That's why sometimes you got to screenshot these things because
I saw it this morning. Oh, I have it right here. End Wokeness.
All right, just read it. To me.
If you're feeling down, just remember this person actually exists, and it is somebody who has a Dr. Fauci and a mask with the vaccine as a tattoo.
All right, you know.
Yeah, and he's wearing his Washington Nationals mask.
It's not a cult, and these are the same people. All right. Where are we at? Tom Elliott. Tom Elliott does a great job on Twitter. I have to hand it to him. So Tom Elliott.
We need to start doing more centered around Russell Brand.
Yeah, sorry here. So this is actually a video. I'll play it because I just thought it was interesting. It was of Russell Brand. And here he goes. Here's John Heilman asking Russell Brand for an example of an MSNBC host knowingly lying on air. So this is interesting. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
Make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, I would, the moment,
Fight them on a territory you can win on, Joe.
Russell, darling, the moment that you give me a specific example, an actual example.
Okay, I'll give you
one.
one.
Just wait.
Oh no, don't give me the example now.
How about
How funny is that, actually? Give me an example. Okay, I'll give it. No. Like, literally, you ask somebody for something, then obviously Russell Brand, with overwhelming confidence, knows he's got him. We got him. You know what I mean? Like, he knows I'm going to now give him the point right on TV.
Russell Brand is a true warrior.
He immediately tries to backpedal out of this. Let's watch this. This is interesting, man. We could have done a whole segment on just this, but let's finish it.
Let me tell you what the specific I'd like to hear of. I'd like to hear a specific example, a provable specific example of an MSNBC correspondent or anchor being on television saying something they knew was false and were saying behind the scenes to people, I'm about to go out and we know that the election wasn't stolen or something equivalent. But I will go out on television and say the opposite. I will lie.
When's my answer?
Just give me the specific example.
I understand the basic point.
Give me a specific example.
All right.
I'm with you. I think it's a false equivalency, Russell.
It's a
no, it's not. That's your own bias.
It's not about bias. It's a false equivalency because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC once, big fucking deal.
My darling, it was more than enough.
You can't come up with
such a
You don't have a single actual fact.
Do you want an example? Do you want an example?
Yes.
The ludicrous, outrageous criticisms of Joe Rogan around ivermectin, deliberately referring to it as a horse medicine when they know it's an effective medicine.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Rachel
example.
Maddow turning up on the TV saying, if you take this vaccine, you're not going to get it, when it hadn't been clinically trialed for transmission.
Non-responsive.
You have to listen.
Wait.
Do you think you can improve America by determinedly and avowedly condemning Fox News without acknowledging that you're participating in the same game? Did you not just listen to Bernie Sanders, someone who plainly, legitimately believes in this country and believes it's possible to change, but is bound by corruption, is bound by...
Yeah, I mean,
even during his... Okay, so they knew the whole story about ivermectin was bullshit.
Right.
And Joe Rogan saying it was the worst thing since 9/11. And he's trying to talk over on Russell the entire time because he's giving him a fact. Yeah. He's giving him the example he was looking for.
They knew. Okay, like there's other things that they could, even with the you should get vaccinated, it's going to stop COVID. Like with that, I could see them use the rationale or justification of, well, we didn't know at the time, right? Because there wasn't enough science and blah, blah, blah,
But you still went out and did it.
All right, I'm just saying, I could see them using that as the logic. But the ivermectin thing, the reason why Russell Brand's point here is so bulletproof is because ivermectin has been around for a long time. They know what it is. They know it's not just horse dewormer. They sold it as just horse dewormer. And yes, they legitimately directly lied about something that there's no gray area that they could muddle around in. And yeah, I don't even understand what his fucking response was, that not responsive. What does that even mean? You have nothing. Yeah. This is again, the machine thinks it's the resistance. Like, even if you point it out to them on fucking national television, it doesn't matter. They are still so indoctrinated. It's hard to believe that someone like John Heilman here is authentic. He's on the level of, Brooklyn Dad Joe. Like, they're just out there to be paid to push an agenda or point of view. It doesn't matter if they're called out for all to see. They'll just continue to push their point of view.
As long as that paycheck comes.
Exactly. That was interesting, man. And I agree. Russell Brand is an interesting guy. He's done a great job on his show. He's interesting to me, especially because he's kind of similar to me, right? He is a person originally from the left who has now just been completely red-pilled about the world. Right? And he got red-pilled by doing a fucking podcast very similar to how we did it. So it's interesting. Obviously, it's on a much grander scale than us, but good for him. All right. What do we
I
got?
only got one more. It's my last one from Elon Musk, which was pretty funny. Be careful to not almost die from using this app too long on the toilet. I speak from experience. When you spend too long on Twitter, it's a picture of a dead skeleton taking a poop with its phone in its hand.
I like how it's been so long that the toilet has like become rock, like fossilized as well. Yeah, you gotta be careful, man. Especially me. Like, I'm always trying to be mindful of like how long I spend on Twitter. It can suck you. It's a rabbit hole machine, and you could get lost in there.
All
for
social
hours.
media is, man.
And
All
obviously,
social media is.
too much negativity could affect your own, like your behavior throughout the day. If like you're just in a black hole.
Yep, and you're looking at just clickbait shit.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
and then
So
everything's
everybody,
racist.
as always, be weary of falling down that rabbit hole. My last tweet is by Maj Touré. I'm on a mission. It's to make every Black American buy guns and look into libertarianism. The productive BLM for real. The Black Libertarian Movement. I like it.
Risky business.
I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
so do
Rebrand
I.
the term.
So do I.
Get the word out there. You're the one who's always complaining. Oh, where's the hero? Where's the marketable person?
Hey,
right?
yeah. Well,
there
if it's
he is.
him,
He's right
let's
there.
do it. Yeah. That's somebody we could get behind.
Yeah, and I don't agree with everything Monster always talks about, but hey, you never are going to agree with everybody completely. So I think that's our episode.
Yes,
we'll wrap it
sir.
up there. We'll see what happens with the Trump thing. We'll stay on it and try and give you guys our take.
Coming down the road there, I know we missed last week, but there will be another episode of Captain Samurai coming out this week as well. I've been in talks with Garrett to do something. He got a little bit busy last week. Do we got anything else?
Let's put some pressure on them. We are trying to get everyone together in person here at the shack in the back. We are having an opportunity coming up with James from We the People Radio, where he's going to be in the region. So we're working on it. We're working on it. They'll be
Steve Allen. Let's go, baby.
I don't want to hear any fucking excuses from you guys.
Yep.
It's a once in a blue moon opportunity that we could all get together and have a good time.
Shout out We the People Radio. Shout out the Great Divide Podcast, and shout out Sergeant and Samurai Podcast. We need to all get together in the shack in the back and throw one big insurrection party.
Let's do it.
All right, Doom Nation, that's been another episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we will be back next week. Adios.